Thank you. I actually think you may have ripped that right from my LinkedIn profile, because I think I recognize that a little bit. No, that's fine. I know that you guys are here kind of for maybe a little bit of extra credit, so I'm going to make you work for it a little bit, because my personality is a little bit more forward and personal in that. So I'll be moving around and also making you raise your hands, every introvert's nightmare. So a lot of what I do is a lot like what Carly does, because we're in a very similar field. Minor league sports has a lot of crossover that comes from sport to sport. So instead of focusing on the day-to-day operations of what we do, because I'm the only one on the panel that actually broadcasts and travels with the team, I wanted to talk about messaging and our role as entertainers while also being communicators, because as much as we like to think of sports as its own separate, different thing, we are no different than live recording artists, any type of live event you see downtown. We're all in the entertainment field as a whole. Our specialty, though, is just athletics and sports and in that vein. So the first thing, I guess, because you're all here in the sports panel, how many of you have always wanted to be in sports in some way, shape, or form? Raise your hand. Go ahead. Okay, so it's most of the room. I wasn't like that. I'm going to start with a story. There was a young kid in kindergarten, about 5 years old. He's about this tall, and he had blonde hair like mine, bowl cut, really embarrassing, but it was the 90s, it was different. And it was a shirt it was a polo shirt that had Winnie the Pooh on it, jeans, and a straw hat. He was in a kindergarten production of Old MacDonald, and he was Old MacDonald. And for some reason, that was maybe the most fun thing they had done in his first 5-6 years being on Earth, because he got to be himself. He got to bring his personality out, and more importantly, he made people happy for a little while. That same kid grew up in a family way out in New Jersey, so all the way on the East Coast. Mom, dad, older brother, and it's the same family that growing up, almost every conversation we had at the dinner table turned into a competition between he and his older brother, of who can make the other one laugh, how we can make our parents laugh, and then almost every dinner conversation ending up with one of us, if not multiple people, on the floor hurting in laughter, because that's just kind of how we grew up. We just kind of grew up kind of silly. And the irony of everything is that I grew up playing sports, grew up playing baseball, I grew up playing soccer. When I got into high school, I quit sports. Why? Because I wanted to do theater, and I wanted to do instrumental music. I wanted to sing. I wanted to dance, I wanted to act, I wanted to entertain people. So I gave up sports for that, which was almost the worst thing you could do into high school, is going into that side of the high school, the arts department, instead of being a sport. So I took the hard way of getting through high school. I made sure that I made every opportunity for everyone else to make fun of me in every way possible for them, especially being a guy in theater, and wanting to be there to do it. So that's kind of my background. I wanted to entertain, and I wanted to come in and just make people laugh, make people happy. When I moved away about 5-6 years ago from New Jersey to start my career in sports. And my older brother, he is in music now. He's a music teacher out east. He has a master's in music composition. And my mom always says, and she still says this to this day, is that when my brother left, the music left. When I left, the laughter left. And so whether I realized it or not, kind of my interwoven background with and without sports prepared me to be in the industry and to be in the entertainment industry as a whole. And again, the great irony is that I left sports to come back and to be in sports. So ultimately, there's kind of three things of what I want to touch on overall today with that. The first is like the purpose of sports and what we're doing here. Most of us think, as former athletes and people who are fans of the sport, that it's all about the game. That's maybe actually in our industry about 10% of what it is. For us, sports becomes an escape mechanism. So there's stories of people come up to me, and even myself too, that you do hobbies, you get interested in things to get away from daily life. Bad economy, not liking your financial situation, not liking where you are, what you're doing, something wrong in your family. It's an entertainment to escape. So ultimately, how do we get people to escape? The first thing is being an active participant. Hence what I said before, you're gonna have to raise your hands. This is part of it. So For people who watch football and baseball, who knows the name Joe Buck? Sport broadcast. Okay, it's all the guys in the back. Go figure. Okay, so keep your hands up. All the guys who raise your hands. Now, out of all of you, put your hand down if you do not like Joe Buck. Okay, there's maybe 2 hands that stayed up. I can tell you the reason why that you don't like Joe Buck. It has nothing to do. He's one of the best technical broadcasters in the industry. That's why he's on every national broadcast. The reason you don't like him is because doesn't sound like he's a willing participant in the spectacle of what's going on. The old adages, and especially on Twitter, people rip Joe Buck all the time for not caring about your team or always having something against your team. It's because it's not authentic. He's very technically good, but he doesn't invite you in a way to be able to come in and be part of what's going on, especially if you're passionate for it. I grew up as a fan of sports, mainly. Flyers games growing up, Phillies games growing up. I know it's kind of sacrilege to say in this area, but I wasn't a big football guy. But I was still a vested fan. So I grew up in that way. And so you combine overt fandom with a theater background, you get a lot of our emotions, you get a lot of riding with emotions, and that's mainly the part of it. The way that I do things is I want to be part of the moment. I don't just do it just to do it. It's all about riding the emotion of the game. And that's where I find life in it. That's where I end up getting the most fun out of it. That's what makes it fun for me. Because ultimately I gave up theater to come back in sports again for some reason. And that reason was that I can still get the same out of it. I get the best of both worlds. I get to watch hockey all year round, and I also get to have fun and be part of it. And the more people seeing you being part of the spectacle, the more they'll want to be interested. And that does not just limit to media. That's also sales, that's also marketing, that's also promotions. That's everything you do in the industry. Be an active participant in it because that will get your fans to care more about it. The old joke when I was in Texas for 3 years for a junior hockey team starting out was that, especially in a really bad year, a really bad game, people started turning around to watch me because the team was so bad that I was more entertaining than the team was. But that's the whole underlying part of it, is that if you're in it, and it's sometimes unconscious, that in the end will translate and give more people a reason to care about what you have to say. Because that's what we're all trying to do, is get people to care about what we're saying. And a lot of the time it's just about showing how much you care. Now, how do you exactly get people to care about a person? Authenticity is one of the hardest things to come about today. All of the baby boomers all talk about millennials and how we're a PC environment, that no one wants to say what they mean anymore. The problem with that argument is the fact that so many people misrepresent what authenticity means and what it means as a whole in society. So when I say authenticity, I don't mean saying the right political thing. That's another realm of another thing. But it's about being yourself. Like, I stream on Twitch. I broadcast video games. I love space. I like orange. I like the Tigers. I love Captain America. He's probably the best superhero of all of them. I don't care what you say, Marvel, DC, he is the best. But that's me. That's who I am. And you've got to own that. Remember when I said before that I had probably the hardest way of getting through high school? Being a guy in theater that liked to sing and dance, especially the dancing part. That hard road got me to have an understanding of who I was. That, and also the irony in that in college I wanted to reinvent myself as a sports guy again because I had felt like I had to be a specific type of person. But as I've gotten older, I've been living away for 6 years from home. I've lived in Texas, which for a Northeastern kid is a huge culture shock. Nebraska, which they live and breathe Husker football and corn, and that is it. And then I come out here, and it's been a nice breath of fresh air out here because it feels more like back home. It feels like where I went to school in central New York. It feels like that good, warm environment with the scenic views to go with it. But at the end of the day, you've got to be comfortable with who you are. It is okay to be different. It's okay to say, I work in hockey, but I've never played the sport in my life before. It's okay to say, I work in esports. I broadcast League of Legends on Overwatch on Twitch. Like, I make money off of Twitch right now. Like, that's a cool thing. Not very much, but like I do, like cents on the dollar. But you've got to be okay with that. It's okay to be different. It's okay to make a statement. It's okay to care about something. If you care about cancer because someone in your life, passed away from it or is battling from it, it's okay. If you want to be advocate for LGBTQ rights and you want to say something about it, you can. Of course, it's balancing it with your employer too and how you say it, the messaging, the way that you say it, but it's okay to care. You don't have to feel like you have to mold yourself into what everyone else wants you to be. You can still be yourself, and you should let that shine, because that's why people will care. You can move that to a personality too. It's part of my job. I run our social media. My most fun platform is Twitter. It's like the most obsolete platform, and the reason for that is because I let my personality shine. I'm 28 years old, turning 29, but I tell dad jokes and I have a dad body. That's the way that I work. But that's who I am. And so I let that shine on Twitter. The biggest joke is that our NHL affiliate's the Dallas Stars. We have it in our Twitter bio that the Dallas Stars are our dad, because I think of it like a family. They're the dad, the next affiliate is like the actual son, because they're owned by them, and then we're the adopted son that we just look up to dad and what they do. So every time I tweet about the Dallas Stars, I'm tweeting about dad and what dad's job is. That's just me. But you can let that personality shine in other ways. It doesn't have to be your own personal brand. It can be, and it should be. People talk about personal branding and how you present yourself to employers. It's okay to be authentic. You got to do it in the right way, but people want to see you have a personality. They want to see corporations, they want to see people be people while also being a corporation and also having a service to share or a product, and for us, it's entertainment. So ultimately, I'll close out with why I do it. This industry, as you'll learn from many people that you talk to, don't pay much. There's no glamour in the back behind the scenes. It all goes to coaches, it all goes to players. For me, I travel with the team all 72 games a year plus playoffs. It is a long season, a lot of flights, a lot of busing. I've missed birthdays, I've missed weddings, I've missed funerals, I've missed important life events. That's the reality of the industry that we're in. There's a lot of sacrifice in what we do, and especially for media, we do not get a lot of praise. Most of it is just people fuming us on Facebook and Twitter and every little detail. You misspell the word "the," people will just roast you from till kingdom come. It's a thankless job. So why do we do it though? If we're just willing to just take punch after punch after punch, why do we keep coming back to it? Because ultimately, like any one of us have the tools to say, sports isn't for us, I can do that somewhere else. It translates to somewhere else. We don't have to be in sports. The biggest reason why we do it, and for me personally, is to make a difference. It's for the same reason why high school Collin grew up wanting to be in front of a stage in front of hundreds of people, again, every introvert's nightmare, and just have them stare at you for 2.5 hours a night. For the same reason why 5-year-old Collin wanted to be Old MacDonald in the kindergarten show, just for his parents, basically, and everyone else's parents. I grew up, my biggest star that I looked up to was Harry Callis. He was a former broadcaster for the Philadelphia Phillies on the radio. When they won in 2008, I turned off Joe Buck in the 9th inning so I could listen to Harry Callis call the series and hear the Phillies win it. He's passed away since then. But those types of moments you have in sports, there's a reason why you have them. It's because of authenticity. It's because they're willing to be part of the spectacle, and it's because they want to be there. I recently, over the summer, went to see a season ticket holder of ours, happened to be in the hospital. An older gentleman, he's had back problems, knee problems before. He took a fall, so he was in there for a few weeks. And he just loves the Steelheads, which is the coolest thing. He's been around since the advent of hockey here in Boise. And he said something to me, just happened to be there, and he said, I appreciate what you do, and I always look forward to coming seeing you. He's the same guy that before every game, he'll either bring me something, whether it's just something small, or he'll come up to me every game, give me a fist bump and say, have a good call tonight. He cares. But you have the opportunity to give someone a reason to care. And that is almost better than what they're doing in their everyday life. My dad hates his job. Absolutely hates it. He's worked at the same company for 30 years, can't stand it. My mom went back into teaching math because of the fact that we had to pay college bills. My brother and I decided to go to 2 private universities. My brother got a graduate degree, and so that's 10 years combined of private school tuition, which, if you think Boise State's rates are bad, believe me, it is nothing like private school. So it's a whole financial situation of itself. But I stream on Twitch because I want an escape. My dad, my brother, they love listening to sports talk radio. It's an escape for them. They're almost more passionate about it than their actual careers is. But it's because we give them a reason to care. And that's why we're here. That's why all of us are here. We all care. We all want someone else to care about what we have to say. Every person in the world has a story. 7 billion plus people have a story to tell. Organizations have stories to tell. If you care, if you're authentic, and you give them a reason to care, people will listen to your story. And at the end of the day, that's all we're trying to do. Thank you, guys. Squeeze back in there.